Well, hey, it's Wes. And today, we're going to talk about bokeh. Bokeh. So, it all started a little while ago when Sony came out with the new 100mm, well, newish 100mm STF lens, which many claim, although Sony didn't specifically say this, many people did, that it has the most natural bokeh that you can get in a lens. Around the same time, Leica actually came out with a 105mm STF f2, and they specifically say that that is the most natural bokeh in a lens. But as soon as I started looking at these lenses, for me, and obviously photography is a very subjective thing much of the time, I found it to be very unnatural bokeh. I would look at a picture and immediately think, that looks like it was completely photoshopped. So now we're spending tons of money on lenses that make what used to be interesting bokeh balls look like something that was created in Photoshop as an After Effect. Now, this was an unpopular opinion, and in comments and so forth, people told me that I was an idiot and didn't know what I was talking about. So, what I wanted to do is, let's figure out what is natural bokeh. What do our eyes see? Now, I can't tell you what your eye sees, I can only tell you what my eye sees. And so, I devised an experiment to do so. First of all, I went to a dark room because, just like in your camera, you need a wider aperture to be able to see bokeh, to be able to see an out-of-focus transition. And in that dark room, I strung up some lights in the background. I took this lens. It's a Sony Zeiss 55, since 50 is approximately similar to the human eye focal length. Not a super wide aperture, neither is my eyeball. I ordered this ridiculously cheap Polaroid UV filter, which I kind of regret because it is terrible quality, and put it on my lens. I put the lens on the camera, used the Sony Play Memories app to view the camera remotely because it was pointing in the wrong direction, and then began drawing on this UV front element until I had out-of-focused elements, or more specifically the bokeh balls, looking just like what I was seeing with my eye out of focus. Do I have some sort of a macular degeneration? I don't know. Maybe an ophthalmologist will see this video and suddenly tell me that I am actually going blind. I don't think I am. Most people aren't super aware of exactly what their out of focus area in their natural eyeball looks like. And so I did this, I took some pictures, and guess what? It looks absolutely nothing like an STF lens. They are more or less clearly defined balls. I'll show you some examples while I talk. But it is just a disgusting mess, because our eyeballs are not perfect. They are basically little bags of mush. And as little bags of mush, they're not going to be as finely tuned as, say, a 85 G Master or a 100 STF G Master from Sony. As you can see, the balls themselves are just full of artifacts and full of distortion, and when you look at the out of focus area, it doesn't look great. But, except for at the edges of the frame where things don't line up well and the lens kind of cat's eyes a bit, it's more or less what my eyes see when things are out of focus. So, what I would like is for you to try this experiment yourself. Get into a dark room, look at something very close to you to see what something looks like out of focus, and see what your eyes produce. Let me know down in the comments if you see even remotely the same thing as I do. Basically, the conclusion of this experiment is that the typical, very clearly defined bokeh balls seem to me to be actually a perfection of the natural bokeh that our eyes produce. So our eyes produce fairly clearly defined bokeh balls because we do not have an apodization layer inside our eyeballs like these fancy lenses do. Our traditionally fancy lenses that do have clearly defined bokeh balls are basically perfecting what our eyes see. And I'm sorry to say, I still don't like those STF lenses. They look nothing like what is natural. I was going to compare the performance of this lens to my favorite bokeh lens, that's the 85G Master. I've tried the 70-200G Master and a few other of Sony's lenses, and by far, subjectively speaking, for myself, I found the 85 to be the most pleasing to the eye. But I had to send it back for repair in hopes that I'll get it back for my next wedding on Saturday. For the third time. That's a whole other story. If you want to hear that story, let me know in the comments. Getting kind of frustrating. Do this experiment yourself. Let me know what you think. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm actually dying. Maybe I'm just dying on the inside. In any case, go take some photos.